I proposed, as I said, a common denominator within our region. And in Romania, we have a very popular musical genre called mana. That's the practically Oriental music sang and played by one of our minorities. They call nowadays Roms. Used to uh, employ another term that it's derogatory today, but it seems that the same phenomenon it's practically present in all countries neighboring us, in Serbia, in Albania, and Bulgaria too. And why not using this common denominator? I I used probably this term of Balkan science fiction turbo-chalga. It's for the Bulgarians, Balkan SF turbo manele for the Romanians, or uh, Balkan science fiction turbo fall for the Serbians, and Talava, Balkan SF turbo Talava for the Albanians. So my presentation, it's titled "The Balkan Science Fiction Turbo Chalga: A Plea for Science Fiction Internationalism and the Lowest Common Denominator." So I start with a quote from a Balkan writer. "I love the turbo folk or chalga or manawa music, which often played on decrepit radios. The songs are about life, love, and death, and could only have been written and sung by people whose life experience is brutal, nasty, and likely to be short." What are the Balkans? From the western side of Europe, the Balkans are a picturesque remote region inhabited by gorgeous women and valiant men with one splendid talent: to kill each other. Am I Balkanic? I ask myself, as having worked on this for some years. I return to the beginning and I try to ponder again the possible implication of the term. Being referred to as Balkanic frequently has negative connotations. It's a toponym which easily become an insult. But my aim is to present our region, the Balkans, in a realistic, positive way and to define the common denominator, science fiction as lingua franca, and the so-called Balkan turbo folk, another lingua franca, at least in our region. We need a shocking expression. That's why the Balkan SF turbo manela or turbo chalga, uh, to express our particularities, to express our true nature. I mean, diverse, open, tolerant, cultured, educated people sharing a nation's history. Unfortunately, with the exception of football and Eurovision, the European nations have nothing much in common today. Common people are not interested by their neighbors and their culture. Christianity is not anymore, unfortunately, the converging core of Europeans. Different languages, different cultures and traditions. No real communications. And believe me, I'm objective. I think the Romanian science fiction and fantasy will never be validated by the Anglosphere, neither other science fictions and fantasies from our region. The Anglosphere is a monopolistic popular culture producer and a worldwide exporter of mainly standardized items. And we, the people from the Balkans, are truly to them as aliens, as the Klingons. We need an unifying concept, we need solidarity and a common denominator. We need a common shared expression of our identity and cultures and traditions and beliefs and uh, habits. Why not an explicit and programmatically a shocking term? Because we are a group of free minded rebels. We live in cyber Balkans. We are everywhere. We know no boundaries. This is our manifest. To make a small step towards the narrative decolonization of the Balkans. I'm quoting, faced with the economic power of the Western industries of the imagination, indigenous Balkan cultural produce had as much chance of competing as the cotton industry in India when its markets were flooded with British manufacturers. The comparative absence of direct economic involvement in the Balkans thus perversely supported the influence of the imagery which originated in the Anglophone countries, helping to shape the way the Balkans continue to be perceived throughout the rest of the world. The current predominantly Western right wing perception is of the Balkans as a contagious disease, an infection sore in the soft underbelly of Europe, best left to fester in isolation. The opposing mainly Western left wing, but unconsciously neo-colonial notion is of Balkan conflicts as revolting departures from the ideal of cosmopolitanism, which could and should, to everyone's benefit, be solved by major and responsible powers wielding a big stick and a few small carrots. The Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek said concerning the Balkanic region, this very alibi confronts us with the first of many paradoxes concerning Balkan region. Its geographic delimitation was never precise. It is as if one can never receive a definite answer to the question, where does it begin, this region? For Serbs, it begins down there in Kosovo or Bosnia, and they consider they defend the Christian civilization against this Europe's other. For Croats, it begins with the Orthodox, despotic Byzantine Serbia, against which Croatia defends the values of democratic Western civilization. For Slovenes, it begins with Croatia, and the Slovenes are the last outpost of the peaceful Middle Europa, the Middle Europe. For Italians and Austrians, it begins with Slovenia, where the reign of the Slavic horde starts. For Germans, Austria itself, on account of its story connection, is already tainted by the Balkanic corruption and inefficiency. For some arrogant Frenchmen, Germany is associated with the Balkanian Eastern savagery, up to the extreme case of some conservative anti European Union Englishmen, for whom, in an implicit way, it is ultimately the whole of continental Europe itself that functions as a kind of Balkanic global empire, with Brussels as the new Constantinople, the capricious despotic center threatening English freedom and sovereignty. So Balkan is always the other. It lies somewhere else, always a little bit more to the southeast, with the paradox that when we reach the very bottom of the Balkan Peninsula, we again magically escape Balkans. Greece is no longer Balkan proper, but the cradle of our Western civilization. The problem is that everyone in the Balkans started looking for a prestigious identity and noble ancestors, anything, anywhere, just to stop being called Balkanic. You could say, for example, that a medieval manuscript was probably Bulgarian or possible 12th century and cause an international dispute of major proportions. In the Balkans, there has always been an unspoken competition as to who was the first to be civilized and, well, as to who was the most civilized. Both conclusions are underpinned by the stereotypes that will examine. The British narrative colonization of the Balkans began early in the 19th century with Byron as its Columbus. It continues still. As a colonized between quotation marks region, the Balkans offer a mirror image to the more traditional fields of post-colonial inquiry, with their focus on textual practices in the framework of the physical exploitation of an area by a Western power, the takeover of the intellectual domain, the exploitation of the raw resources of history can be similarly lucrative, and precisely because it often appears frivolous, more insidious in its consequences. Although the physical colonization of large parts of the Balkans by the Ottoman Empire provides a reverse example of traditional colonial patterns, a portion of Europe dominated by an Eastern, alien, and non Christian empire, this textual colonization has provided the industries of the imagination with easy, unchallenged access to raw material. In contrast, while Ottoman rule surpassed in its longevity almost any instance of Western colonization, its direct narrative contribution to the way the Balkans are seen and imagined by outsiders, it's negligible. So we need to define what we have in common besides the Danube and besides the Black Sea. And fortunately, we have the science fiction and the fantasy. We have a lot of common traditions, and allow me to address in a few words the so-called scientific fantastic literature known to you as Naучно-фантастика literatura, because we shared for 40 years the same kind of science fiction, the Soviet model imported in all former socialist countries. And believe me, in every country we shared some values, the values of the humanistic socialism. We shared some Eastern European writers, Stanislav Lem and Strugatsky brothers, as I refer as the picks of the very best of the scientific fantastic literature of naучно-фантастика literatura. Unfortunately, the naучно-фантастика literatura is not anymore existing. It's considered dead by the founders from Russia, and after the 90s, every country and every nation had found its own way and continued to write and to publish its own science fiction and fantasy. But as a bulk, I think all former socialist countries realigned themselves with the Anglo-American model. So we had followed the Anglo-American science fiction, and this is the relevant model. And for a lot of Eastern European countries, the Anglosphere is the target. So let's talk about an idea, a concept, science fiction. Science fiction is not claimed by anyone in the Balkans as their own and exclusive creation, for the simple reason that science fiction was imported from the West in all European countries, from the French British cultural core. In every European country, the science fiction concept has been adapted, modified, expressed in specific ways, but keeping the values of the original core. In the first phase, Eastern European science fiction evolved under Western influence, French and English. Then in Eastern Europe, it changed, starting with 1947, 1948, 1949. It changed under Stalinist Soviet influence. After the post-Stalinist thaw in 1956, every Eastern European literature expressed the science fiction concept within the limits allowed by the communist ideology. For the first time in the communist bloc in Poland and in Soviet Union, Stanislav Lem and Strugatsky brothers distanced themselves from the Stalinist cliches and platitudes, creating an original, powerful, and humanistic science fiction. Am I Balkan? I ask myself. So, yes, I am a Balkanic human being. I'm proud of this. There's nothing to be ashamed. I mean, we are here as neighbors from at least 1,500 years. We have our common confession, the Orthodox Christianity. We have our traditions, we have our cultures, we have our, let's say, writers and poets. Each people has had an experience with their neighbors. I think the only way is to find those common denominators, to define them, and to try to present ourselves under a common banner. Irrespective of the name, of the title, of the brand, but I think we must find, as I said, those specific and characteristic traits, and we must share, because my impression is that if we will be able for a common solidarity, defining our goals, defining our mutual interest, we will be able to present on the European market some projects, and on the international market also some anthologies of short stories. Some common projects in order to present our literatures, to define ourselves as a regional core for a specific type of science fiction. I can continue like this, but I'm interested to find out your impressions and your opinions. What do you think about this project? Is it feasible? It has any chance or not?
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So how we can continue from now on? Maybe some questions from us, or
Yes, sure.
Надявам се, че по-голямата част от залата разбра за какво иде реч, че според него трябва да се обединим в усилията си да да излезем от невидимостта като регион тук. Да предложим нещо, защото тази англоязична култура, която ни затиска всички заедно и реално липсата на всякакви връзки между отделните държави тук. Ние всъщност този Булгакон на това сме го посветили. Има ли въпроси към него от публиката? Примерно мен много ме накефи формулировката на нещата, как просто беше много точно и въздействащо. Да, кажи. Интересен въпрос. Какъв друг език предлагаш за Балканко? Here is a question. Do you think that we can organize in the near future something like Balkancon?
I think that that's a very good idea to share our opinions and our common experience and to meet together to start discussing face to face or at least on Zoom, to define some common targets. Because as I express myself, there are a lot of common traditions. We share a lot of principles and values. We share the same love for science fiction and fantasy. And I think a Balkancon, it's a very good idea. We will try to promote our concept and our ideas and to attract as many people as possible from our region and to address our common goals. I think there's more that is uniting us that is separating us. We have some specificities as culture, as traditions, and I think we are those Europeans that are reading the Eastern European science fiction and also the Western European science fiction. Believe me, in Western Europe, there are not so many science fiction fans interested anymore by Eastern European science fiction. Due to our the geographical positions, I think we are favorized. We know a lot about the Eastern European science fiction, and we are continuing to read the Western writers, and we know that we are able to achieve maximum quality. And I mentioned Stanislav and Lem and the Strugatsky brothers, but believe me, I think, in my humble opinion, that the Barierata of Pavel Vezhinov is an excellent novel, and I mean it. It's comparable, I think, with some of the best international science fiction novels. And unfortunately, in the last 30 years, with the exception of the British and American writers, almost nothing has been any more translated into Romanian. Of course, the only exception are Stanislav Lem and the Strugatsky brothers, but not anymore. Bulgarian, Greek, Serbian, Czech, Hungarian, not anymore, and nothing. We are just connected to the Anglo-American the market, and 80% of all translations are translations from English. I mean all genres, all domains of the editorial market.
Yes, same in Bulgaria.
Unfortunately. So let's find some ways and some projects to know each other, to translate using lingua franca, to find out for the Romanian science fiction fans more about the Bulgarian science fiction, or vice versa. Yeah, I mean, with some imagination, with openness, we can devise ways and projects to know each other and to meet each other. And definitely, I think a Balkancon, it's a very good idea.
Well, okay. Let me translate shortly.
Yes, sure.
Now,
thank you.
Because now we can communicate. Okay, never mind. My English is not so good, so...
No problem, no problem.
Така, предполагам, че повечето хора разбрахте за какво стана въпрос, че имаме какво да споделим едни с други, че чухте, че спомена бариерата на Павел Веженов и я смята за едно прекрасно произведение, като пример, че в този регион също се пише хубава фантастика, която просто няма къде да бъде прочетена, освен тук, защото ние сме, и това го споделям и аз, ние сме в по-добра позиция, отколкото западния свят, защото ние четем и нашите неща, и техните неща, те четат само своите си неща, и в този смисъл, и те са си самодостатъчни в един смисъл, и в този смисъл, въпреки че напоследък търсят някакви екзотики, така, нали, т.е. правят се, че търсят, и освен Стругацки и Лем, в Румъния друго не се печата, освен на англоязична фантастика. Тук е почти така, но да речем и Сапковски. What about Andrzej Sapkowski?
Sorry?
What about Andrzej Sapkowski? Do you know him in Romania?
You're right. Sapkowski is translated because, you know, that there are some TV series, and in the moment Andrzej Sapkowski was translated into English language, automatically was translated into Romania, because the validation nowadays, for example, for the Romanian editors, it's London or New York. What's good for London and New York, it's good for Romania. But they are waiting for the English language versions, editions, and if some Eastern European writers are validated in London or New York, that's okay. We can translate them into Romanian.
Yeah, maybe from English, not from Polish.
Yes, from the English language, of course.
Okay. Well, okay. Дали изпуснах нещо важно? Да, Данчо е по-силно. Че има какво да си кажем, това е ясно, да. А има какво да кажем.
Има какво да кажем и да прочетем и да се сподели. Аз също казах и тук по-друго на въпроса също казах, че което е така положението в момента, че всичко, което се напише, трябва да се валидира през свободни...
Да.
Ако нещо бъде всяко минута, това е вече през английската версия, това вече е окей.
И между другото, тия, които могат да променят това нещо, сме ние, това няма кой друг. Наскоро, сега малко ще се отклоня, ама имаме време, предполагам. Наскоро ставаше въпрос за българските радиа, т.е. какво се излъчва по българските радиа, че българските музиканти просто не получават време да се чуят по радиото. И то обясняваше човека, тук идва чуждата компания, купува това радио и си идва с музиката и хич не интересува какви хора и какви музиканти има в отделната държава. Тя си идва директно с музика. И това си пуска. Толкова. Сега при литературата все пак има възможност и читателите да влияят, защото самите читатели понякога стават издатели и така нататък и комуникират с издателите и ги хващат на кафе и им казват, че стига сега това, дай малко и това. Не е същото, по-добре е положението и ние можем да го променим. И сега верно, че трябва да почнем да мислим от тук нататък за Балканкон. Така е. Нещо друго? Да, Снежана. Снежи. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
There is a question, where can we find Romanian science fiction and fantasy and maybe horror, all of this, that we can read, but in English, Russian, or Bulgarian, because maybe one or two fans know Romanian in Bulgaria, no more.
I understand. I will try to investigate in order to find out that some digital editions of Romanian science fiction fantasy translated into English.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are monolingual. I think the majority of the young ones in Romania today are studying only English. It seems that we are reducing our diapason to just one language. But I will try to investigate, and I will try to send to you at least one anthology, one volume in a digital version of Romanian science fiction and fantasy translated into English.
Okay, thank you. Let me translate. Значи, каза човека, че ще се постарае да намери в електронен вариант поне една антология, румънска фантастика, преведена на английски, за да може да прочетем. Ние ще му изпратим имейл по-нататък от името на Булгакона, така че ще има къде да се комуникира с него. И добре. Thank you for that. We will send you soon an email, official email of the Bulgacon, and we can communicate there for
Excellent. Thank you.
For this one. And also we can send you some Bulgarian works translated in English.
Thank you.
Recently, some of our authors managed to publish in English some things. English magazines that are in English.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there are no novels yet, but short stories.
That's very good.
Yes, we are pleased. we feel like the master says, "Oh, good," and gives us some sweet or something. Well, okay. Another question, yes? Adrian Rogos. There is a question. Do you know what is the situation with the author Adrian Rogos? Because we know a few Romanian authors here, and Adrian Rogos is one of them.
Unfortunately, Adrian Rogos, one of the founding fathers of Romanian science fiction after the World War II, is dead since 1996.
1996, 96 година е починал. Да.
He died in Germany because he emigrated to Germany in 1987. And he died in 1996.
87 година отишъл в Германия. Yes, okay.
Probably for a good reason, Adrian Rogos was a fan of the Bulgarian science fiction. He wrote the foreword of an anthology of Bulgarian science fiction stories. I think in 1967-68, The Enigma of the White Valley.
Yes, okay.
I know. I have the volume. As I mentioned to you, Adrian Rogos was a very kind person, a true science fiction fan, and he established the collection of the science fiction short stories. It was in the times of the communism the only science fiction magazine allowed in communist Romania. He is very much regretted but unfortunately nowadays we don't have another Adrian Rogos.
Well, okay. Разбрахте ли? Значи, той е бил голям фен и на българската фантастика, което е интересно. Написал е предговора към, забележете, антология на българската фантастика 67-68 година. Скоро ще става. Минаха вече 50 години всъщност. И няма в момента друг Адриан Рогоз. Той е бил много, много сърдечен човек, който голям фен е бил и фен, освен писател. Така, нещо изпускам ли по-важно? Така, с Адриан Рогоз стоят нещата. И всъщност, и да, няма днешен Адриан Рогоз и всъщност ние трябва да сме Адриан Рогозовците и другите там от българска страна. The situation here is the same. We have some Romanian works during the time of socialism, and after 1990, I think I can't remember any Romanian fiction published in Bulgarian. Някой, ако се сети в залата да каже, ама мисля, че след 90-та година няма румънска фантастика на български. Да. We have, какво имаме, кои автори имаме, бе, Юрий, я кажи. Михаил Хаулица. Ама той е фен и автор ли беше? Помна ли вече? Не помня. Окей, това няма да го превеждам, няма смисъл. We have here как беше изследовател, бе? Researcher of science fiction, and this is Elena Borisova. Do you know that name?
No, but I'm very happy to salute her. Hello, Elena.
No, she's not here, but she published 2 articles about the Romanian science fiction.
Very interesting.
The beginning of Romania. She is very interested in researching in this topic, Romanian science fiction and fantasy. Maybe we can connect each other, you and her, because
please do.
I think she keeps working on this. We published 2 articles in Bulgarian in our Bulgarian magazine, fan magazine, Terra Fantastica, about
Terra Fantastica.
Romania. Terra Fantastica is a magazine which is annually one issue an year in 100 copies. So
printed. Yes,
printed. Okay. On paper in 100 copies, which corresponds to your numbers, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, by the way, I've heard that you mentioned Mihail Haulika. Mihail Haulika, it's alive. He's very well, but unfortunately, he has retired. He's 67 years old, and in the last 5 years, he didn't publish any more science fiction fantasy. It seems that he's interested by the thrillers. These murder novels, and he's not writing any more science fiction or fantasy.
I got it. Значи Михаил Хаулица си е жив и здрав, ама на 67 години и се е пенсионирал от писането на фантастика. Така де. Някакви романи за убийства ли, какво разсеят? Кримки. Окей. Thank you. Как сме с времето? Мисля, че трябва да приключваме. We are now approaching to the end, unfortunately.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Can I? Do you have the program of our Bulgacon now?
I received from Gregor Nachev and Valentin Ivanov.
Well,
program.
you can see that most of our topics is about actually about Balkan fiction, Croatian, Polish, Romanian. So maybe we started this process now.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Joining. Well, okay. I can say thank you from all the audience. Applause, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your participation, and I hope we can work together soon.
I think so. Thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to meet you, at least via Zoom.
Yeah, thank you.